I've really, in the past decade, I guess, or half decade, gotten over my my sort of like stand-up purity bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh well, yeah, sure, you have a fucking podcast, you have fucking funny videos online, but like, are you funny? Like, can you get up on stage and do an hour? No, you can't. And it's just like, no, but so what? Like, they're doing this other thing. You know what I mean?
I've
Like,
gotten over that
could
too.
I get up there and do funny songs? No. So why do I have to hate someone who's like obviously trying to do something that's different from me? Like, why even view that as a competition? We are literally playing different sports. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I've sort of let go of a lot of that bullshit. But
Dude, I was the worst with that for a long time. As you know, I was a fucking psycho with a lot of shit like this. And I'm glad you used the sports reference because Marty DeRosa, listeners, you know, he's been on the podcast a bunch of times. He told me once when I was getting mad about something, and he basically said, like, listen, dude, to be upset that so-and-so is doing something is ridiculous because they're not taking fans away from you. It's like a basketball player being jealous of a hockey player.
totally.
We're all athletes, but we're playing different games. And I'm like, dude, you're so fucking right. And then I got to the point where now when I see other people do it, I get like, I almost want to reach out to them saying you're wasting so much mental energy and it's only causing you anguish. Like this Sarah Cooper, do you know who she is?
Remind me. Keep talking.
She's
Maybe I did.
blown up the last few months because she started posting, I think, TikTok videos of her lip syncing to shit that Trump has said.
Oh yeah, she's fucking hilarious.
Hilarious, right? I remember catching them on TikTok and then seeing
people
I've seen
a few of them, just a couple of them, but yeah.
Yes, as people shared them on Twitter. And I remember laughing at them going, oh yeah, they're really funny. She's got the cadence down and the other stuff she does to add to the video. Yeah, it's good 45-second content. And now they gave her like a Netflix special off of it, but it's not like a straight stand-up special. It's like stuff going on. I haven't watched it yet. I think it just came out today. Anyway, there are comedians who actually like a lot who are trashing it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Dude, we're all in this game together. And even so, even if you don't like what she's doing, she's not taking anything away from you. And all you're doing is just putting, I don't know. I just don't like seeing comedians openly shit on other comedians unless they've done something to strongly warrant it. Like the Carlos Mencia stealing jokes. Fine. He earned being shit on. That's a federal offense in our business.
Totally.
But Sarah Cooper is someone who has been working in improv and I think has done some stand-up as well. And she's a writer. She's written on comedy stuff, comedy shows. So she's in the world of comedy for a long time now, 10, 15 years, I think. And yeah, she's something hit. She did something that went viral and it blew her up and she got millions of followers from it. And now she's turning that into, you know, a fucking bigger payday. Yeah, good man. For her. Why are we against that?
Well, you know what happens if you begrudge another person their success. The energy that you put out is one of rejecting success generally. So really by begrudging other people their success, you prevent your own.
Lebo, I'm very excited about this. Are you a law of attraction guy?
That sounded pretty law of attraction, didn't it?
It sounded 100% law of attraction. That is law of attraction, essentially what you said.
I don't know if I would say I'm not
talking about the secret, but I mean, like, here's the thing. I've gotten into some. Yeah,
I'll just answer the question. Yes.
Okay, cool.
I don't necessarily buy into all of the crystals or the explanation of how it works, but I certainly know that that visualizing what you want is the best way to get it.
This makes so much sense. Sorry, I'm getting excited. I don't know if I got louder just then or got closer to the microphone. You used to do a thing. I'm sure you still do it before your set. I remember you walking around the block at Timothy O'Toole's where we did Community Chanel. I would, be walking in and I'd see you go for a walk. And then I remember one time, I don't know if I brought it up to you, maybe I did. I was looking for parking and I saw you walking down the street and you were like mouthing words and hand gesturing to yourself. And in my head, I'm like, oh, he's like visualizing what his set's going to be like. Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's what I do that like before always. I mean, so I always first of all, I have a kind of a prayer that I say to myself before I go on stage, which is, do you want to hear what it is?
if you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, it's Dear Lord, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, please allow me to bring joy and laughter into the hearts of these good people, and that through our shared joy and laughter, we may all descend more deeply into the loving embrace of your infinite presence. Is the prayer that I say to myself. And I wasn't raised Christian. I'm not Christian, but Jesus was cool.
That's what I was going to ask. I'm like,
yeah. I'm a Jew,
yeah.
but I was like,
I like it.
But I also do go over my set, before I go on stage. I do go over my set. And oftentimes, it's like people try and talk to me before I go on stage. And it's just like, it's kind of, because it's just like, no, I'm trying to get my head in the right place to like do this. And part of that does include kind of like going through the whole thing. And also often I have a new bit that I'm trying to work out, and that's me trying to figure out the words too. So it depends how much time I have. If I have 45 minutes, I'll walk around for 45 minutes and work out the new bits. And then when I realize I have 10 minutes left, I'll go, okay, what's the actual second of me? And I'll go into that. And then I'll say my prayer I usually try and do in the room when I can feel the energy of the people. But yeah, that's my sort of like pre-show, my kind of like spooky new age pre-show spiritual ritual, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever told anybody that.
I fucking love that, man. I have I've probably sprinkled this throughout the podcast, but never gone too deep on it. I'm gonna say sometime in like early 2017, I first came across reading about like law of attraction type stuff a little bit. Now, just to clarify for listeners, that thing, The Secret, is kind of bullshit, because the whole idea of The Secret, there was I did watch the documentary or the video on Netflix. I came across it. I was first given the DVD of The Secret when I was 21 years old. When I was 21, I was working as a waiter at a Longhorn Steakhouse in Norridge, Illinois, which is a suburb that's actually within the city. The city goes around it. It's kind of a weird deal.
Yeah.
They're right by the hip.
It's basically the northwest side, right?
It is, yeah, Harlem Irving Mall.
It's near Skokie, isn't it?
No, that's Niles.
It's near like Chicago Ridge and stuff like that, right?
Chicago Ridge is south side.
No, what am I thinking of? Chicago. Where's Hillary Clinton from?
She's from Park Ridge.
It's near Park Ridge.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty close to Park Ridge, like 10 minutes or so. So anyway, this woman who came to eat lunch there every day. I worked the lunch shift a lot at the time because I just didn't care about making money. I made enough. I was still living at home. I was 21, and there's one woman I would talk to. I told her I dropped out of college because she asked me like how classes were going. I'm like, well, I'm actually taking classes at Second City at night now. I'm not doing the college thing anymore. I think I want to go into like comedy. I was just taking improv and sketch writing, and she's like, oh, that's great. I've got something for you. I'll be, she was at lunch like every day there. The next day she gave me the DVD, The Secret. She's like, you got to watch this. This has worked for so many famous people. It'll help you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I looked at the thing and I'm like, this seems like garbage. Like, I never opened it. It was in plastic forever. Never touched it. And then, anyway, this is a long story, everybody. But in late 2016, early 2017, my son was born in February. I want to say it was like a month before he was born. I was still living in LA. My oldest son was born in LA. I was flipping around Netflix and I saw The Secret. It was like suggested. And I'm like, that's the fucking thing that woman gave me like 15 years ago or some shit.
No
so
shit. Okay.
I clicked on it and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to watch this. What got me right away was the first 5 to 10 minutes of it was about focusing on what you can control. Now, the rest of The Secret goes on to a crazy direction, which is why people make fun of it, because it shows like a kid going, I want that bike. I really want a new bike. And then a new bike appears. It's like, that's not how anything ever works. This isn't magic. You don't live on Asgard. We're not living in some weird Marvel universe. Come on, man. But what was interesting about the whole first part about focusing on what you can control, the next couple weeks, I ran into people who use that exact phrasing where I'm like, oh, they subscribe to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the names. This dude, Chris Williams, I was working as extra. I was an extra like every episode of a show on CBS called The Great Indoors. with Joel McHale. He was the star of it. It only ran one season, but it was like the last year I was in LA. I was the bar back in like every bar scene. And the main bartender who had lines, he's one of the main characters, Chris Williams, who's Vanessa Williams' brother. He's been in a bunch of shit. I was telling him about a thing I had coming up. I can't remember what it was. And he was like, you got to focus on what you can control. You got to, get your mind right. And he was telling me, he's like, you ever drive in traffic and there's traffic and you're like, I got to get there. Doesn't get you there any faster. Relax. Focus on what you can control. Block out all the other shit. I'm like, oh, okay. He said it to me weeks before I watched The Secret. Hannibal was visiting LA, and I saw him, and I'm like, he was asking me, this is another weird side note. I always felt like I did do better in LA because all the people who could help me in LA, whenever they asked how I was doing, I said I was doing great, even though I wasn't. I just don't like being a bother to people. So when someone says, hey, how you doing? I go, I'm good.
I get that. I'm the same way. I want to do it myself anyway.
Yeah, so Hannibal then was like, how things going? And I'm like, good. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I've actually been annoyed lately because, I don't have any representation out here. And every time I do a major show, no one's in the crowd. Like I'll do UCB and everyone's like, oh, dude, managers from CAA were here last week. But nobody's here this week. Yeah, I always had that. And the Hannibal's like, don't focus on that shit. Focus on what you can control. You can control putting out 5 good tweets a day. You can control filming your sets and putting those out. You can control. And then I'm just like, yeah, you're right. I can't control who's in the crowd. Good point. And then, Robert Jr. said something along the same line. So I remember going like, holy shit. All these people have said this to me over the last few months. And now I'm watching this thing that is preaching that in the early going. So then I started to kind of like get into it a little bit, not too deeply in 2017, but by 2018, I came across a video where it was a bunch of successful actors, and Denzel Washington said, if you wake up in the morning and think today's going to be a shitty day, well, then guess what? It's probably going to be a shitty day. And that blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Because so many times in my life have I gone into things with that kind of mindset. Mm-hmm. Like you go to a party and you think this party is going to suck before you open the door to go into that party. Yeah, you're putting it out there. You're putting out the vibe that this party's going to suck. I'm not going to have any fun. Why am I even going to this party? And then you go there and yeah, it's awful because you almost created that awfulness. You probably, without realizing it, put a vibe that says, I don't want to be here. So therefore people are like, fuck that guy, And I think it's the same thing that you talked about. I went the long way around here. Yeah. Where if you're someone out there who's hating on other people's success, you are in a way putting up blockers to your own success.
You're saying no to the notion of success.
Yeah.
You're saying, fuck that. Success? No. And that's a guaranteed, as close to a guaranteed way to block success as you can. I mean, the Secret is one thing. There's also these books by Esther and Jerry Hicks, which is I think actually basically what The Secret was based on.
Yeah, loosely based, or half.
And I think that Esther and Jerry were in the original version of The Secret, and then there was some problem with the contract; they were edited out of it, and they just had other people in there. But there's a whole community of people that, this is of a piece with a lot of stuff. I mean, I was actually just listening to, I don't know if you ever listened to the Sam Harris podcast, but I was just listening to it.
His mother created the Golden Girls.
Sam Harris?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, look it up. His mother was a big TV exec who created and co-created a lot of shows.
Oh, okay. So no wonder he's such a smug, entitled bastard. But anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
I do like his podcast, actually. It's very
I've heard good things about it.
It kind of bums me out sometimes. But he had this neurosurgeon on named James Dottie, who came from like sort of a broken home, and he came, it was just, he somehow ended up getting his life together and becoming a really successful neurosurgeon. And he now runs a nonprofit or some kind of organization devoted to studying compassion, for which the Dalai Lama is like a benefactor. So anyway, his story about this guy, James Dottie, his story about how he was able to sort of transcend his environment. His dad was an alcoholic, his mom was mentally ill, and whatever, all this stuff, was that he met this lady who worked at a magic shop in the neighborhood, and she gave him some of these sort of meditation techniques. And one of the techniques that she gave him was to visualize what he wanted, as though with the feeling of as though he already had it, which is essentially, that is the method the law of attraction uses.
Yes.
You visualize what you want, and you picture already having it. And of course it's easy to make fun of it and to make fun of vision boards and all that kind of stuff, but that's what a vision board is. That it's a technique for that.
Yes.
And his explanation of it, of course, a lot of the sort of new age spiritual people, whether it's, Jane Roberts, or whether it's, Esther Hicks, or whoever it is, The Secret, whatever. I mean, there's goes back a long way. I think Helena Blavatsky was the first person to use the term law of attraction. She was the founder of, what's it called? Neo-sophistry or sophistry or something, which is a sort of new religion.
I don't know that deep. Yeah.
But a lot of these people really revere Helena Blavatsky, who was this Russian emigre, and then she started the Theosophical Society. She started in New York in the 1800s. Anyway, it goes back a long way. I love
about talking to you, though, because we can talk about diarrhea, and then I'll throw this out there, and you'll be like, "Oh, well, here's a fuckload of knowledge about that."
Yeah. But hang on, let me make one point. Let me get to one point.
Sure.
So this guy, this neuroscientist, James Dottie, his explanation for why this works is that, okay, so you're visualizing this, and this creates something that's called, I think, like the pop-out effect, where if you have a goal and you focus on it intently, and then you see something in your environment that could help you achieve that goal, because you've primed your mind in that way, it's much more likely to pop out, and then you recognize it, and then you go for it, okay? Whereas, so the sort of, crystal people or whatever would have this more kind of magical explanation where you put this energy out into the universe, and then the universe returns, you attract it through the law of attraction from the universe into your experience. And this guy who's a neuroscientist is very clear to say, like, I don't believe in any of that bullshit. This is how it works. But to me, it's sort of like a distinction without a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who cares? If it's the same process and it works, like, who cares if the mechanisms are coming from within your own mind or from without your own? I mean, and who's to say even? I mean, why even argue about it? That's just how I look at it. Like, either it works or it doesn't work. And then,
yeah, I agree. I don't care. If it
I don't
tastes
care
good,
if
I don't
it's
care
magic.
why it makes it taste.
You know what I mean?
I don't give a shit.
It doesn't have to be magic. And that bike shit, I know it looks cheesy in the movie, but I've had these feelings. This actually happened to me a month ago. Or no, it was during the pandemic. I had this image in my mind of this black specialized Cirrus 2.0 bicycle. And I was just like, I just realized, like, that bicycle is coming to me. Now, I went into a store and I bought that bicycle. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It didn't just appear.
Yeah,
but it was
the
like,
movie. Yeah, the movie messed up by having it just fall. Yeah,
but it's like I focused on this thing, and then I was like, okay, well, I need $600. You know what I mean? And it's just like I found, a way to get $600, and I got the bicycle. It's like, so the mechanics of it are sort of, yeah, it's cheesy as fuck in the movie. But the point of it is, like, I thought about that bicycle like every day, and then I got it. I mean, that's just kind of like how it works.
No, I agree there. They just portrayed it cheesy, so I use it as an example. And it's true, dude, that some stuff like that. So my wife and I just got a Costco membership. We had one way back in the day, but we got another one, and we were there, I don't know, like a week ago. And they already had Christmas stuff out, but they had this really cool, like, Christmas thing. It was this big tree, like ceramic, and had a train that goes in it and like around, so you could see, with all like famous Disney characters along the way. And my sons are really into Disney stuff right now, as 3 and 1 year olds typically are. And he loves trains.
That's going to last for a minute, I promise.
I will, yeah. And by the way, I'm okay with it because I love Toy Story and cars and all the stuff they're into.
It rules, yeah.
It does. It so rules.
Yeah.
And anyway, though, so we looked at the price, and it's like $80. And we're like, that's insane. We can't spend $80. We don't have that kind of money to just buy a Christmas ornament. But then my wife took a picture of it, and she said she showed my son, and he was like, oh my God, that looks so cool. And I go, you know what? there's some stuff I want to sell. I'll sell it on Facebook Marketplace. I'll get the $80 and I'm going to go out and buy it. What do you think of that? And she's like, that'd be great. And I'm going to get it because I'm going to sell that stuff because I'm going to focus on it. And that's so much of what the law of attraction is, what I try to tell people. Vision boards, visualization. There's been like studies where they took 3 different groups for free throws, where one group didn't shoot any free throws. They just visualized. Where the other group shot 100 more free throws a day, and the third group did nothing, and they didn't visualize. And the one that did the visualization did the best. And there's also, but also you got to put the work in because you're focusing.
You visualize like crossing the finish line first. You know, you go inside like before you do the race or whatever.
And the vision board thing, there's so many people I know who do vision. I never processed it at the time. Lisa Traeger's been on this podcast. She does vision boards. This comedian Ron Funches was on some show where he talked about how he has a vision board party with a bunch of his friends.
See, yeah, man. And here's the
famous
thing.
People who do them and they work. So I don't know why people act like it's bullshit, because it's clearly not.
It's so fucked up because it's like, and we're supposed to be embarrassed about this.
We
like,
shouldn't be.
Like when I told you about my prayer that I say before I go on stage, I was like, there was part of me that was like, I shouldn't say this. But it's like, why? It fucking works for me. Then I go on stage and I fucking murder.
You do. I mean? So, dude, like, I was going to cut you off.
What is the problem?
You got to say it, which you shouldn't be embarrassed about because you're speaking truth.
No, and I'm not.
I was going to say it for you. Everyone listening, I'm gonna take a beat. Mike Lebovitz, Lebo, as we affectionately call him. During my time in Chicago and any time I've performed with this gentleman, nobody has consistently killed as much as you have. And I'm not saying that because you're my guest. I mean that. And there's other people who are right. Like, obviously we rolled together for a good 5 years or so in Chicago comedy at the same time. And you consistently killed more than anyone else in our scene. And it's a scene with some big names now. I mean that. I really do mean, consistently, as far as like your sets would range from an 8 to 10, where like I feel like I would have 9s and 10s and 8s, but then I would throw up a 3. I'd throw up a 2. I don't remember you throwing up 3s and 2s. I mean, I'd rarely throw up a 3 or 2, but
right. No,
I would at least make it entertaining too, because I'd freak out and tell everyone they're fucking assholes. But have a meltdown.
I mean, your meltdowns were the most fun of anyone's meltdowns ever.
That's how you turn a 3 into a good 7, by putting fear into the audience.
Well, I mean, it was still a show anyway. You know what I mean?
There you go. Still a
show. Joe, I mean, I just want to say you're one of the funniest people that I know. So, I mean, that means the world to me coming from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
I take that as, the highest and most meaningful compliment possible. So, yeah, thanks, man.
I appreciate that. I'm not blowing smoke. I 100% mean it. So we should not be embarrassed to admit these things.
That was the point. I wasn't trying to brag about like how fucking good I am at stand. It's more just like, if Ron Funches is doing vision board, like, it's almost like, I mean, I remember this from being a kid in school. It's like you make fun of people for doing anything that like might long-term improve their life. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you want to have fun without drugs and alcohol? What are you, a fucking nerd? Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like, no, I just like, I want to go to law school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like give them a break. I don't know.